Hi friends, it's Amy Rubin, experienced educator turned mindful development coach and founder of Mindful Self. Today, we find ourselves in some really crazy times where we're dealing with social distancing and isolation, remote learning, lots of time spent home, where we're not actually alone amidst constant news briefs, alerts, and updates. And all of this has been a real true test of my mindfulness practice and a great reminder that this is why I practice. The truth is, I don't actually need a pandemic to feel anxious or worried because it's actually my default mode. And unfortunately, this global crisis has brought up a lot of old fears and habits that I thought I had under control, like not being able to see past those crumbs on the counter or other messes, and struggling with patience and a really short fuse. Knowing that there's so much that I can be doing, but yet I have the desire to do nothing, it's almost like being stuck between two worlds. Do you ever find yourself feeling like you should be happy, but instead you're sad? Are there days where at moments you feel like you're trapped, you're frustrated, you're scared, and then in other moments you're elated, you're relaxed, or you're calm? Living in today's world can kind of feel like living on a roller coaster, where the ups and downs and the twists and turns come on a frequent basis. And all of this can make us kind of feel a bit out of control and really harsh, not only to ourselves, but also to others. If this sounds like you and your daily situation, then maybe this talk about the power of compassion is for you. Mindfulness has taught me so much, not only to learn how to acknowledge what I'm feeling, but it's also taught me how to be with whatever it is that I'm feeling, and to know that what I'm feeling is totally okay. It's helped me to navigate these uncharted waters that we find ourselves living in, and it's really made me realize how much, one, we rely on others, and how much connection and seeing each other and being present is really important, as I've really been missing my friends. It's also taught me how interdependent we are, and in what kind of a society we're so used to living in, where we have instant gratification. It's made my entire family have conversations about our needs versus our wants, and when our safety has been threatened as it is, how we can't always have what we want, but we have to make sure that we have what we need. And finally, it's made me realize just how difficult it is to feel like you're doing the right thing all the time when we just don't really know. So I'm so grateful for all of you who are joining in today, and I'm super grateful that we have the technology and the opportunity to connect with each other, and if nothing else, to simply remind ourselves that we're not alone, and we don't have to choose this fear, and that this too will pass. So before we begin, I want to start off by asking all of us to just take a moment to center ourselves and to set our intention for today's practice through a little practice that I call heart thoughts. This is something that can be done by yourself, it can be done with others, it can be done in just a moment or an instance, as you'll simply see, where we're going to take an opportunity to acknowledge the good in us and how that feels, as well as taking that opportunity to acknowledge the good in others and sending them heart thoughts as well. So simply finding a comfortable spot where for the next moment in time, you can be concentrated, you can be upright, dignified, and feeling strong. And just take an opportunity right now in this moment to acknowledge the good in all of us. Send yourself a kind thought, knowing how hard it is to be in this daily moment and these daily times. Sending yourself whatever it is that you need to hear in this moment, whether it's strength, hope, compassion, wellness. And once you've done that, then just take a minute to see how that feels, to talk to yourself in such a loving and kind way. Now, I want you to send a heart thought to someone else that you know who needs that thought, whoever it might be. Send them whatever well wishes that you offer to them, And again, once you do, imagine that that thought is reaching that loved one or that person, and then noticing how that makes your heart feel. I think it's important that although we're all imperfect beings, we have to remember that we are all doing our best during this difficult time. And I know that when I'm feeling lonely or scared, when I'm feeling worried or unsure or angry or sad, it helps me to have a practice that not only helps me to feel connected to myself, but to also be connected to others. And this willingness to act and to seek out connection, it fills me with hope and with energy. And therefore today, what I want to share with you is the power of compassion, how it might not only be the greatest source of strength and love and a nice thing to do, but it also might be a source of resilience that we can all tap into and use as we manage the next remaining times of our lives. Compassion has long been recognized as a two-way street. It's not only the greatest thing that we can do for ourselves, but also for others. Just like kindness, compassion has a ripple effect that not only makes us feel better, but it therefore helps us to share this with others in the way that we act, as well as the way that we show up in the world and the way that we respond in difficult situations. Regardless of whatever it is that you're experiencing, I can assure you that you are not alone. It's totally natural to feel scared, worried, or anxious. It's totally okay to feel angry or sad, and maybe at the same time. It's normal to notice that this can feel like an emotional roller coaster. As humans, we all have this human brain that seeks to make us safe, and therefore it resists the uncomfortable. This can become kind of problematic for us when we deny our emotions, which can result not only in tension in the body, but when we develop unhealthy habits like overeating, sleeping, as well as reliving patterns of thoughts, feelings, and reactions, which is basically how we would typically react in stressful situations or in times of crisis. Enter mindfulness, a practice of paying attention on purpose in the present moment non-judgmentally. By doing this, we cultivate a new way of being with discomfort. We practice acknowledging what's there lying beneath the surface. We practice accepting that it may be a moment of suffering, that it's hard, that it's uncomfortable, that it's scary. And we practice learning how to be with it rather than push it away. Having practiced mindfulness since my dad's terminal diagnosis and teaching it to students of all ages over the years, I found that within each one of us, we each contain these messes. But rather than looking at them as messes that mean that there's something wrong with us, instead looking at it as an opportunity. By returning to who we are, and by deeply understanding our emotions and our suffering and recognizing our interconnection with the world, we actually water the seeds contained in these messes. And by doing that, we actually give ourselves the opportunity for love, for ourselves, for others. And this, my friends, is the true path to healing and freedom. As social beings, we all have the same basic needs. And right now, our basic needs are being threatened. Regardless of our age, race, or religion, we all experience universal emotions as well as 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day, meaning there are more things that make us alike than different. So the true question is, how do we balance our needs with our fears? How do we ensure our safety and the safety of our loved ones without wanting to kill or judge others? Well, this is where compassion comes in. By definition, compassion takes sympathy and empathy one step further. Think of sympathy, to expect and recognize one's suffering, like a sympathy card. When you know that someone has experienced a great loss or a great amount of suffering, you often offer the gesture of a sympathy card. Empathy takes sympathy one step further, meaning that you not only recognize someone's suffering, but you can also feel another person's suffering based on your past experiences. Now, this isn't to say if someone loses a spouse and you've never lost a spouse, you can't be empathetic. You can be empathetic because of the fact that you can identify with that sincere feeling of grief and loss, which we have all experienced, great tragedy and sadness at some point in our lives. Well, compassion takes sympathy and empathy one step further, where you not only have an awareness of someone's suffering, but a heartfelt desire to not only unburden or soften it for ourselves, but also for others. I think it's safe to say that with empathy, we can all say that at this point we're struggling, but yet we're doing the best that we can. Or maybe it sounds like, just like me, this person is afraid, so maybe they're hoarding. Or just like me, this person is feeling unhappy or challenged by old beliefs, and maybe they're worried about getting sick or maybe about dying. I think a really helpful understanding for me, both in the classroom and out, as well as in life, is when I see or witness someone acting erratically or doing something that just seems strange or unthoughtful, I remind myself they're not giving me a hard time, they're having a hard time. And so compassion means, how can I help? How can I see that you are suffering? How can I recognize that? How can I understand where you're coming from? And how can I make this better, not just for you, but also for me? And oftentimes it's in that simple recognition of the fact that, just like me, this person is having a hard time that can totally shift the way that we look at not only ourselves, but also others. Loving kindness is a meta practice where we cultivate compassion for ourselves and for others. We do this by visualizing and tuning into how it feels when you offer repeating phrases of well wishes, not only to a loved one, but also to a community that you're grateful for, as well as communities around the world. And we do this by offering the phrases, whatever they may be, not only of peace, of well-being, of health and happiness, but in this one, of recognizing and sending those well wishes to know that you are loved and that you are not alone. So as I guide you through this practice, I'll encourage you to visualize different people and groups in our lives and sending heart thoughts of love, hope, well-being, strength, good health, or whatever it is that you believe that is important or that they need in this moment. I would very much encourage you to listen for a statement or an image throughout this practice that you connect with, so that in times of great struggle, it won't take you 15 minutes, but more like 15 seconds to be able to harness your inner compassion and be able to make yourself feel better and make the world a better place. So as we begin our loving kindness practice for the power of compassion, in these times of uncertainty and fear, I invite you to find a comfortable, upright or seated or lying down position, one that embodies peace, but also dignity and strength. Finding a place where you can relax, but also focus for the next few moments on not only getting in touch with your greatest source of compassion, but also cultivating that for the world. So begin by settling in and bringing your attention not only to the space around you, perhaps the noises that you hear, feeling the support of the floor or the cushion, the chair or the bed beneath you. Bringing your attention now to your breath and the sense of breathing. Noticing that without you even having to tell yourself to breathe, your body does so naturally. And allowing this to develop a sense of gratitude. A gratitude for this connection and sense of life. Allow yourself, when you're ready and if it feels right, to place a hand on either your stomach or your heart and feel the movement of breath. And allow yourself to just breathe with whatever is whether it's any emotions that are present, perhaps something weighing on your mind, and including the focus of your attention right now. Now, for a brief moment, if your eyes are closed, I invite you to open them and look around to find something that reminds you of either someone or something that you love. Whether it's a picture, a memento, a trinket, or a piece of memorabilia. Just something that allows you to renew your intention for this practice. And when you're ready, close your eyes. And imagine now that you can breathe into and out of your heart, as if your heart had its own set of lungs or gills. Imagine what it would feel like if you could breathe into your heart to refuel it, filling it with heartfelt thoughts. And then as you breathe out, your out-breath as an offering from your heart, sending it wherever it needs to go. Allowing yourself now to connect to your natural compassion, I want you to bring to mind someone that you care deeply about. Again, you can see if you can picture them in your mind, or perhaps just their name is enough to bring them into your point of focus. And as you allow that loved one to fade, now bring to mind a community that you care deeply about. Whether it's your family and the friends that you care deeply about. Perhaps it might be your neighborhood or your town. Or maybe you have a community like a school or a place of work. And then finally, I'd like you to include all the people who are practicing with us and a greater sense of connection to the world and all of humanity. Seeing if you can picture them and sense this larger group of interconnected human beings. For each one of these, we will practice sending heart thoughts, whether it's thoughts of love, hope, thoughts of strength or well-being, or thoughts of good health. You will simply picture in your mind these people as I bring them to you, and then practice sending heart thoughts. And then we will offer them the phrases. So again, picturing in your mind someone that you love. Take a nice deep breath in, filling your heart with all that is needed. And as you breathe out, send love, hope, strength, whatever it is that you want to send. And now, in your mind, repeat these phrases as I say them out loud. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you know that you are loved, and may you know that you are not alone. Imagine not only your out-breath, but also these offerings of well wishes reaching your loved ones and noticing how that feels. Now we're going to repeat that with your community, either picturing this community in your mind or perhaps a time that you were with them. Breathe in and fill your heart, and breathe out, sending love, hope, strength, peace, or whatever it is that you believe is important. And just like before, offering those phrases silently as I repeat them out loud. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you know that you are loved, and may you know that you are not alone. As you offer these phrases again, just kind of taking a moment to tap in and noticing how that feels, to offer these phrases of well wishes to a community that you care deeply about. Now we're going to do this one last time for all of us, but also expanding out to all of our loved ones, all of our larger communities, and essentially all of humanity. Breathing into your heart and breathing out the antidote that you want to send out into the world. And then offering those same phrases. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you know that you are loved, and may you know that you are not alone. Now finally, take a moment to breathe this in for yourself. Feel it. What do you need in this moment? And can you just breathe that into your own heart, knowing that there are people holding you in their hearts right now? As our practice comes to a close, I'd just like to finish with something called appreciative joy, where we recognize the good in others. So please, bring to mind someone who is helping. Maybe it's a healthcare provider that you know of, a law enforcement officer, or someone you know who is working hard on the front line, risking their lives to help others. And as you picture them, imagine saying to them, thank you, and know that they are there. Now bring to mind someone in their community who are doing what they can. And you can bring them to mind individually or collectively, and imagine saying to them, thank you. Now part of appreciative joy is also seeing the good in yourself as well. Acknowledge your own kindness. Acknowledge your own strength or courage. Acknowledge your own patience, even though this is not something that you would have chosen. And at the end of this practice, as well as something we can do every day for ourselves, just remember to say thank you to yourself for the role that you are playing, knowing that you are important. Perhaps you might say to yourself, I may never know whose life I saved today or whose life I made better, but I know that it was important. As our practice comes to a close, taking one last opportunity to just take one more deep breath in and exhale. And taking a moment just to notice how it feels and how you feel. Knowing that this is something that is not easy to do, but commending yourself for taking this time to nurture yourself in this deep way. Allowing yourself to slowly become back aware of your surroundings, perhaps wiggling your fingers and wiggling your toes. As we conclude today, I hope that you enjoyed that practice. I hope even more that you found something that can help you in times of stress or duress in the next few and coming weeks. I think that it is important to remember that we are all in this together, and remembering that can be very uniting. It's also important that we remember that we are all coping with this differently. How you respond might not be how someone else would respond, and that's okay. Just remember that struggle to keep up and stay focused is weighing on all of us. Be generous, friends, with your interpretations. It's easy to be judgmental in these times, just like it's easy to have a short fuse. Remember to acknowledge how you're feeling. And remember to accept that everybody is dealing with this, however is best for them. We try not to compare our suffering, but it can be really difficult sometimes. But I think most importantly, if we remember to be kind with ourselves and gentle with ourselves, we can do more wonderful things in this world than we ever could do alone. We are strong and we are in this together.